Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to Copper Dot Productions. In this week's video we're going to be installing a Dishworks DW300 fuel pump in Lys's R33, trying to get rid of that fuel cut problem we're having at higher RPM. Let's get into it. Pump. This is going to be out. Instructions, blah blah blah. That's the good stuff. Ooh. Ooh.
So many pretty stickers.
Alrighty, so we've got our pump, we've got our fittings and wires and all that kind of crap. Basically, we've got everything we need, blah blah blah. That's what's in the box. Sick. Let's get into the car.
And there she is.
Alrighty, so the first thing we need to do is take that metal plate that's covering the fuel tank off, unplug the fuel tank, turn the car over a couple of times to make sure that the fuel lines are depressurized. Once we've done that, we can then actually take the fuel pump out, and that way when we take off the fuel lines, we're not going to get squirted with a bunch of petrol. We'll jump in and do that.
As you can see, that's now exposed our two plugs, so we'll just go ahead and get them out. And now we can get this out of the way properly. With your fuel pump now unplugged, go into the car. It's a force to have it. I guess make sure it's in neutral and turn it over a couple times. And that's literally all she needs. Make sure you disconnect the battery. Now with our lines depressurized, we'll go ahead and take the hoses off. What? Once your battery terminals are disconnected and your hoses are off your tank, it's time for the most tedious part of the whole process, and that is removing this little ring here. Now a lot of people actually go ahead and use a mallet or a piece of wood or something like that to beat it around. That's probably what we'll end up doing here today, because unfortunately we don't have the proper tool to do it. If you can get the proper tool, I definitely recommend doing it. It'll save you a lot of time. Now that we've got our ring off, we can plonk this out, and that exposes the inside of the tank. There's a clipping mechanism on the inside that actually holds the pump to the side or the bottom of the tank. Okay, that's a bit of fuel. So the clip that holds this portion of the part in the tank is at the back, up on the center. So if you put your hand in and up like that, it's just a matter of sort of pushing a plastic tab back so you can slide this up and out, and then it's a pretty easy process to get this out. Fuel pump wiring, it should be nice and easy to wire into that. Alrighty, so our first thing to do would be to get the tank and the bag and all the sort of parts off of the housing. So we'll jump in and do that first. So red green is our positive, and just full red is our negative. I'll put a little bit on this so that we can check back on that later. Now we need to solder them onto the correct part. Alrighty, now that our connections are soldered up and taped up, that's back in place. We've got the correct plug in there. It's time to chuck the pump on there. Done. Ready to go back in. There we go. Alright, that's back in now. With that firmly placed back on there, I believe there is also a torque setting for this. It's not too crucial, I don't imagine, because it really is just making sure that it's down enough to make a seal, but also not down enough too tight to destroy the rubber gasket. So put it down to a point where it's firm. It's kind of hard to tell with a hammer and a screwdriver, so just put it down, finger tight, and then give it a couple clicks around and make sure she's actually on there nicely. And then after all that, you're ready for your hoses, wherever they've gone, to go back on. All our hoses hooked back up. Put our cover plate back on, or firstly hook our fuel tank back up, and then put our cover plate back on. And the only thing left to do now is to re-hook up the battery.
And now when you go to put your key in the ignition, turn it all the way to accessory, you should hear the pump kick up, especially if it's a decent upgrade to the standard GTS or GTS-T pump. You should hear it fire up. So we'll give you an example now. This is the first one, so if it doesn't, bad day. Fuel pump installed. Go for a little test ride, make sure the pump's all good, and that'll be it. Let's go.
Car already sounds a lot happier on the pump, even just driving around normally. Like, you need a short shifter so bad. So it's actually pretty interesting, even without getting to higher RPM and experiencing that boost, or not boost cut, but fuel cut as what we thought it was. Just driving around normally like this, the car even feels a lot happier and a decent amount more peppy. So I'm guessing that that's probably fixed our issue. Obviously we have to wait for the car to warm up before we can actually get into that higher RPM and check it out properly, but we're not far off it. Nope, still got boost cut or whatever it is.
Alrighty, so unfortunately it's not fixing our high RPM power cut, or whatever it is that's going on, but it is feeling a lot better down low RPMs, all that sort of stuff. It was easy to tell beforehand that it did need a bigger fuel pump just because it wasn't really handling the power before. We weren't sure as the one we had was GTS-T or GTS, so we just stepped up to Dishworks DW300, which we know from numerous reviews is a really good fuel pump, and so regardless as to whether or not it's fixed a problem, which obviously it hasn't, it was a good investment to have in the car. It's a good fuel pump and it'll last us a long time. So definitely still worth a swap, just unfortunately has not fixed our issue in this case. So we're gonna have to keep hunting for that problem and see how we go. Anyway guys, that'll be it for this week's video. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, leave a comment down below, like the video, and subscribe for more Skyline content. We'll catch you next one. Bye!